For the last few years, I've been shooting exclusively on prime lenses, and part of the reason for that is that they're lightweight and the picture quality from them is always really sharp, so I've never really wanted to get a zoom lens. But recently I was asked to take photos at a wedding, and part of me was thinking, do I really want to be using primes? I really don't want to be thinking about changing lenses and potentially dropping them, or, just having to deal with that across the day is not something I want to do. So I was on the hunt for a zoom lens, and I was basically going on forums and Reddit and seeing what people recommended for weddings, and the one lens that came up a lot was the Tamron 35mm-150mm. Now, firstly, I didn't buy this lens. This is nearly £2,000. There's no way I would buy this just for a couple of weddings a year. So instead, I rented it from a website called Lenses for Hire in the UK. They are absolutely fantastic. There's so many different lenses on there that you can rent. And because I was so impressed with the service, I contacted them and asked them if I could get some kind of discount code for you guys, and they were kind enough to give me one. So if you use the code JACK10 at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order. What's really great is that they ship the lens to you the day before your booking, and you can either have it collected or return it yourself. When this lens first arrived, my initial impression was that it was just a huge, cumbersome lens. I took it out of the box and I just thought, I can't believe I'm going to be shooting with this all day. It is heavy. It weighs around 1.1 kilos, which is noticeably different compared to my prime lenses. It's also pretty big. Here it is compared to my 55mm. So not only are you getting a heavier lens, you're also getting a bigger lens. But if you can get past the size and weight of this, then you may just find yourself with one of the best lenses for wedding photography. So before we get further into this video, I do want to say that this isn't going to be a super in-depth review. If you're looking for charts and graphs and all of that kind of stuff, this is not that video. Feel free to go look at another one. This video is going to go through my sort of first-hand experience using the lens, and I'm also going to be showing you a bunch of different photos throughout this video, which I think, to be honest, is more beneficial to see the photos that this lens can actually take, rather than just, random grids and objects in someone's house. So what is so good about this lens? Well, it's the focal range. That 35 to 150mm is just perfect. I had this on my A7 IV the entire day and I didn't take it off once. Now, I'm fortunate enough to have two camera bodies. I have the A7 III and the A7 IV. Now on the A7 III, I had my 24mm Samyang lens, which I think I used about 10 times during the entire day. Now, I do think if you are going to be shooting in, really enclosed spaces, definitely take a wide angle lens with you. Obviously, you don't need to have two camera bodies. You could just swap them out if you have the time. But if you do have two bodies, which I recommend to every single wedding photographer anyway, then, have a 24 on one or a 16 to 35 even, and then the 35 to 150 on your other camera. For me, the 35mm was actually wide enough for most of the day, and it gave this really nice documentary style look. And to be honest, even though the 24mm did come out a few times, I can't really say that I was that happy with the photos. The 35 definitely gives a nicer perspective in my opinion. When it comes to the other end, so 150, the compression looks absolutely fantastic. Obviously, you're not going to get quite as much compared to a 200mm lens. Now, I can't really do a video on this lens without talking about the aperture. That f2 to f2.8 is just so handy, and I know there's going to be some prime lens users watching this video that love their f1.4 and f1.8s. I found the f2 to f2.8 more than enough. And especially on these newer cameras with ISOs that can handle noise a lot better, I don't think f2 to f2.8 is ever going to be an issue for you. And as you can see from some of these photos, you still do get a really nice depth of field. f2.8 at 150 is absolutely fantastic. You get a nice creamy image, and I think the photos from this lens are just absolutely brilliant. And of course, this is helped by a good photographer who knows how to compose an image, but I still think the lens plays a big part in this. Now, when it comes to autofocus, one thing you need to worry about at a wedding is how reliable is my autofocus going to be. And I do have to say, I was a little bit worried that it would underperform compared to my Sony native lenses, but on the day I had no problems whatsoever. The Tamron lens just stuck on everybody like glue. It was fast, it was responsive, and I wish I had a video that I could show you guys. I don't, unfortunately. You'll just have to take my word for it. But looking back at my photos, there was pretty much none that are out of focus or with any kind of focusing issues. The lens also handles flaring really well. Towards the end of the night, there was a sunset, which means a lot of the photos were backlit. And as you can see from some of these photos, the flare is not an issue at all. So what about the 150? Is that enough? Is it going to be enough for those of you who like to shoot with your 70 to 200? Well, for me, shooting on the A7 IV, I'm lucky enough to have a bit of flexibility with crop in post, and I did have to for some photos. But for most of the photos, 150 was more than enough, and quite honestly, on the day, I never felt like I needed that extra zoom range. Another thing I need to touch on is the sharpness. So of course, one thing when using a zoom lens is that they're usually never as sharp as a prime, but take a look at this photo and try and tell me that there's prime lenses out there that you would ever notice the difference. This is an incredibly sharp lens, and throughout the day I got some great photos that not only the couple were super happy with, but I was as well. And I think if you can have a photographer that's happy with the photos and the couple, then everybody walks away happy. There weren't actually any photos that I looked at when I was editing and thought, oh, that's a little bit soft, or there's some problems with this. The lens is sharp, edge to edge, and honestly, I am so glad that I rented it for this wedding. So are there any downsides to this lens? Well, when it comes to picture quality, I don't think there are any. I've had no issues with it at all. I think other than the size and the weight of this lens, which might put people off, there are no reasons whatsoever to not use this lens. I found managing the weight of this lens quite easy because I have one of these Spider dual holsters, and I definitely recommend getting one of these if you don't have some kind of harness or holster already. This does allow you to use two cameras, there's quick releases, and the plates that you put on your camera are Arca Swiss compatible as well, and all in all, this is just totally worth getting. I think I got this on eBay for about half the price of what it retails for, and this is one of the best pieces of camera kit I've got. I'll probably do a review of this in the future as well because I think it's just such a good piece of kit. So that kind of brings me to the end of this video. I don't really know what else I can talk about when it comes to this lens. It performed absolutely brilliantly. The photos are sharp, they look great. I don't think anybody would have a problem using this lens. And if you do have two camera bodies and you have like a 16-35 on one and then the 35-150 on another, you're going to be more than prepared for your shoot. If you're based in the UK and you want to check out this lens, definitely take a look at Lenses for Hire. They are a great service, and remember to use my discount code JACK10 to get 10% off. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like, it really helps out my channel. If you have any comments or questions about the lens, drop them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you want to see more from me, subscribe and hit that bell icon as well. You'll get a little notification when I upload a new video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.